Will you bow your heads and pray with me, please? Gracious God in heaven, we thank you for today, a day that our city desperately needs your help with. We thank you because this is the day that you have made, so we're going to rejoice and be glad in it. We need your help today as we make progress, and I want to thank you for our mayor, for raising up a young man with such a significant heart for our city. Thank you for the McCaskey family. Thank you for Brother Kevin. And now we thank you for all of the people who will benefit by the Bears staying in Chicago. I don't know that you play football, but I am asking you to help us. Help us to win some games. Help us to get a Super Bowl here. Help us to play in the Super Bowl. And bring back the 1985 roaring, cheering fans we had for your glory and for our good. And on a more serious note, for all the people who will work here, who will thrive here, who will come to experience significant family memories here, we give you glory and thanks. And if I've asked you for too little, I pray you do something even bigger than what I just asked you for. In your precious name, let the church say amen.
Thank you, Pastor Dates. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you for being here. We have a number of people here that I'd like to acknowledge. First of all, of course, Mayor Brandon Johnson. We're very much appreciative of your presence here. Chicago Alderman Walter Burnett, Mike Rodriguez, Pat Dowell, Timmy Knudsen, Lamont Robinson, state legislators Representative Curvis Tarver and Representative Cam Buckner. Thank you for being here. A few of the great-grandchildren of George Hallis are here today. And I want to extend our best wishes to Katie Nagel and her family. Katie is the heart and soul of the Bears. The Bears have been proud to call Chicago home for more than 100 years. Perhaps no other sports team embodies the character of the city it represents better than the Bears and Chicago. Our founder, George Hallis, emphasized the importance of being a champion for Chicago. This has been part of the foundation of our organization. That is why we are excited to invest in the greatest city in the world through a stadium project and site improvements that will benefit Chicagoans and visitors. We hired Kevin Warren a little more than a year ago as our president and CEO because of his proven track record of handling complex situations and finding winning solutions. He began by listening and building relationships with our football people, our staff, Bears fans, elected officials, and key stakeholders in our stadium search. Kevin's approach led to success with US Bank Stadium in Minneapolis. That stadium was delivered under budget, was paid off 20 years early, and is regarded as one of the top venues in the world. Kevin and the team he has assembled will put Chicago in a position to have similar results. I thank Kevin for his leadership and invite him to the podium now to share with you the progress that we have made and what it can mean for our great city, the region, and the state. Kevin?
Good afternoon, everyone. George, thank you very much. I'd like to also just thank the entire McCaskey family who've made the time to be here today. I appreciate you all. I love you, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to lead this franchise. We're here today. This is an incredibly, incredibly special day for the Chicago Bears, for the city of Chicago, for the state of Illinois, for our players, for our coaches, for our staff members, for the alumni, and for our incredible Chicago Bear fans. Today is about progress. And one of the things that I'm most excited about today is the fact that this shows that in this city, we have the intellectual capabilities, we have the heart, we have the passion, we have the foresight, we have the wisdom, we have the vision to do big things. It takes individuals in this room, ownership, leadership, elected officials, to dream big, to know what this city needs at this point in time. This is not an easy project, but Chicago doesn't like it easy. We like to do the difficult things. We like to do the things that resonate with people for generations to come. It's time for us to do something special together. You'll hear a detailed presentation today, and there will be many people, whether you're here today or watching online or listening on the radio or reading the newspapers, that may have questions. We expect that, but we embrace that. But I'm confident with the individuals in this room, in this city, our ownership, our elected officials, Mayor Johnson, individuals at the Chicago Bears, that we can come together to show the future generations that people can work together, that we can be collaborative, that we can figure things out together, that we can create win-win-win situations. So that's why I'm excited today. And as George mentioned, I started at the Bears on April 17th of last year. It has been the most enjoyable professional year of my life. The only disappointment I have is that it went so quickly. But I've loved every single moment of it. I look out in the crowd, there's so many faces that a year ago I didn't know. I'd heard about you, I had read about you, but didn't know you. And there are a couple elements that really articulate what Chicago is about. The food is the best in the world. This museum campus is the most attractive footprint in the world. We have a beautiful lake you can swim in. We have beaches, the architecture of downtown. All of those different things are what make Chicago special. But the most important element about Chicago that makes Chicago special are the people. And I've been fortunate to meet some incredible people during my last year with the Bears, and I've lived here since 2019, so for the last 5 years. They've changed my life. They've changed the life of my family. They've welcomed me into their family. And I really understand the passion of the Chicago Bears. When I was interviewing for this job, I bought tickets online. I parked in the parking lot. And I walked into this stadium. It was a very, very breezy day here. It was when we were playing the Eagles. And one of the things that resonated with me was the passion of the fans. They love the Bears. And so I'm going to set forth a challenge. We need to decide who we are and where we want to go together. Who we are and where we want to go together. And I am confident, after you see the presentation today, after we continue to communicate with you, answer all of your questions, that you will recognize that we are the organization that George Halas dreamt that we would become. Hardworking, honorable, with integrity, transparent, forward-thinking, wise, but most of all, collaborative. So as we walk through today, that I will look forward to answering questions at the end, and I'll look forward to working together with you for us to figure this out together, and for us to operate like Chicago operates, together. So with that, at this point in time, I would like to invite my favorite mayor, Mayor Brandon Johnson, the mayor of Chicago, to the podium to say a few words. Thank you, and let's have a great day.
Hey, do me a favor, keep clapping for Kevin Warren. You know, you have someone pretty special. I don't know if you've had a chance to witness a Bears game with Kevin Warren. There's this incredible display of the incredible food that he talks about in Chicago. And, you know, he loves this city and loves people so much that, you know, he sets out days in the week where he actually fasts and prays. And as someone who is deeply tethered to faith, I appreciate you and I honor the leadership that you have brought to the city of Chicago and to this organization. But of course, this is a beautiful day for the city of Chicago. It really is. And as a lifelong Bears fan, it is an honor to be here to celebrate the Bears' commitment to remaining the Chicago Bears. I really want to thank the McCaskey family, you know, and the entire Bears organization for betting on Chicago and announcing one of the largest private investments in our city's history. I also want to thank the members of my administration who have worked collaboratively with the Bears over the past several months to center Chicago and Chicagoans in the plans that are being announced today. My team upheld my clear criteria. For any new development project at the lakefront, we required real private investment, real public use, and real economic participation for the entire city. And today's announcement delivers on all three. The Bears are a historic franchise, we all know. The incredible legends of Dick Butkus and Mike Ditka, Walter Payton, Mike Singletary, Brian Urlacher, and Devin Hester. All of these individuals have thrilled Chicagoans for generations now. And like many of us that are in this room today, this is a very personal day for us because the Bears, they're our team. And many of us grew up with the Super Bowl Shuffle, pretending to be the monsters of the Midway, and raising a family. I can tell you this, you know, Kevin, your leadership is important because my oldest son, and no pressure, Chicago Bears, but he has seen a Cubs World Series, a black president, and his father become mayor of the city of Chicago. We're going to see a Super Bowl in the city of Chicago, and it's going to be our team playing. So as we stand here today, this historic announcement, it is worth remembering how different things were just a year ago, though. A year ago, Kevin Warren was not the president of the Bears, and I was not the mayor of the city of Chicago. And the Bears were reportedly as good as gone. In fact, I think I was the only mayoral candidate who expressed the willingness to even try to keep them in Chicago. And now here it is a year later. Kevin is the president of the Bears, I'm the mayor of the city of Chicago, and the Bears are committed to staying in Chicago. You know, the main reason this happened is because Chicago, of course, is the greatest freaking city in the world. Everybody knows that. But it's also the Bears understood the endless opportunities in what Chicago really offers. But another reason we're here celebrating today. It's not just about football and government. It does start with the personnel. Today's announcement is just another example. If you have the right players in the right position on the field, you got a better shot at winning more than you lose. And today, ladies and gentlemen, it's truly a win for the entire city of Chicago. And that's because today's announcement is, again, it's bigger than football. It's about the people who live here. With this plan, the Bears are committing to $2 billion of investments. Chicago will experience the increased tax revenue from this investment, expanded public recreation, stronger economic growth for the entire city of Chicago for generations to come. And one of the defining features of this project is that it calls for the implementation of everything that my administration has called for, true public investment. But what it does not call for are raising existing taxes or implementing any new taxes on the residents of the city of Chicago. And I'm going to repeat that one more time to make sure that everybody gets that. This project will result in no new taxes on the residents of Chicago. In fact, this project actually puts Chicagoans to work. The development proposed today is going to provide thousands of new jobs, both temporary and permanent ones, to people who live in every section of the city. And not only that, the Bears are also committed to building one of the most diverse vendor programs in the history of the NFL, so that women and minority business leaders will have real opportunities to build capacity and grow their business with this project. And as I said earlier, my administration insisted that any new project, especially one on public land, must deliver strong public benefit and public use for the entire city of Chicago. And I am pleased today that this plan does exactly that. This plan not only envisions a new dome stadium, but it reimagines the entire museum campus in a way that truly aligns with the historic Burnham plan. It was Daniel Burnham's vision for the lakefront was to center it around people, the people of Chicago. He envisioned an active lakefront with space and amusement for everyone to enjoy. The plan revitalizes that vision. And today's plan imagines and it invigorates new parks with public sports fields, field house facilities for everyone, but especially our young people in this city. The result of a lakefront, new green space that will be available to all residents, it gives us an opportunity to enjoy this campus in a far more collaborative way. And this will include access to innovative retail and hospitality offerings provided by talented local entrepreneurs from all of the neighborhoods. This plan truly embodies the spirit of the Burnham Plan. We hope to use this new stadium to host several year-round events, including Chicago Public School championships, graduations, major concerts, Final Fours, Big Ten championships. My next inauguration, I don't know, we just keep adding to it. All of these year-round attractions, the city of Chicago will generate significant new revenue that will support my commitment to invest in people to build a better, stronger, safer Chicago. And that means more revenue for mental health clinics, youth jobs, housing, investments in our community violence interrupters. Simply put, this is going to reinvigorate the entire city of Chicago. It will be the crown jewel of the city of Chicago. And with this new project, we are showing the world what Chicago is capable of. This world-class city gets to demonstrate itself over and over and over again, and why not the Bears? And as a Chicagoan, as a Bears fan, I'm proud to be up here today. President Kevin Warren and the entire Bears organization, thank you for believing in Chicago. Thank you for believing in my administration. Thank you all for being a part of this amazing endeavor. God bless you all, and God bless the greatest freaking city in the world, city of Chicago. Kevin.
I think we should just go home right now. I know we have a lot of good information to share. This is when class begins. We're going to walk through a presentation deck of materials in a transparent manner. But before we do that, we have a little video that our staff put together that I hope you enjoy. If that doesn't make your teeth chatter, I don't know what will. Wow. So we want to walk through some slides. And as the mayor mentioned, This vision started over 90 years ago with Daniel Burnham. And this was done during the World's Fair, Chicago's century of progress. He was a visionary. He laid out the infrastructure and the information for us. We need to carry his vision forward. You saw this on the video, similar to what Daniel Burnham had designed, integrating the museum campus. As the mayor alluded to, open space for our children to be able to play. There's schools here in Chicago don't have a school to play high school games on. That should not be the case. So this is the vision here to integrate this campus. We have the best museums in the country. We have the most beautiful lakefront. We have the most vivid downtown architectural design. And this affords us the opportunity to be able to bring this all together in the greatest city on the planet. We want to build a recreational and cultural campus to enhance upon the things that we have here in place. We view young students being able to study here in the park, take the classrooms out of the classroom, out of the museums, and bring it into the open area and take it back into the museums and back into the classrooms. We have an opportunity here to build a year-round place where this city can come together for athletics, for entertainment, for recreation, for culture, for sports, for concerts, to really integrate this area. Here's another shot looking south. As you notice on here, the plan is to keep the historical columns from Soldier Field, to make that part of this development, to make it one museum campus. What happens here is the additional open and green space. This will have 14 acres of athletic fields, recreational park, to allow, as I mentioned earlier, for our youth to be able to come together and do things in a productive manner. We'll build restrooms. We'll make this a place that people want to come and spend time. This is a year-round project. Ice skating in the winter, to have our citizens, not only in Chicago, but around the state of Illinois, to be able to use this area. Again, children. We have a crisis in this world with our young people. And there's a race to who gets to our young people first. The streets or us. And what we want to do at the Chicago Bears is to work with the city, the county, the state, everyone in this room, our business leaders, all the elected officials, to build an environment where boys and girls, kids from various economic backgrounds, regardless of their color or the school that they go to, that they can come together and build relationships. This open and green space, we've done studies, we want to do it, and we will do it in an ecological, sensitive manner to not take away from the beautiful beaches and lakefront that we have. You see here, farmers markets, graduations, all of the events that could happen here with the backdrop with the museum campus. These are the colonnades that exists here along the lakefront. We want to respect and embrace our history and tradition with Soldier Field. And these views are incredible. And now when you start thinking about having an opportunity to bid for the Super Bowl, for the Final Four, for college football playoffs, Big Ten championship games, concerts, this really becomes an international destination. The Olympics, World Cup. I have major concern where we are as a city. There was a recent article in the Sports Business Journal that listed the top 25 sports cities as far as hosting events. You know where Chicago was on that top 25 list? It wasn't on the list. It wasn't even on the list of up-and-comers. Orlando was number one. But cities like Las Vegas, Minneapolis, Indianapolis, Detroit, Los Angeles, Milwaukee were listed on those two lists. There was only two major cities not listed, Washington, D.C., and our great city here of Chicago. That hurt my heart. In 2021, it was estimated that the sports industry, by hosting events, created revenue in the amount of $6.6 billion. I can't wait till the new numbers come out. We cannot fall further behind. This Promenade Plaza, food, beverages, Sports Culture Museum. And as you'll see when Karen Murphy, our Chief Operating Officer and lead of our stadium project, comes up, we laid these different financial phases out in buckets so you'll be able to see what costs what and when we're recommending of when it's built. But you can imagine this being activated on a Final Four. You can imagine this being activated for a Super Bowl, college football playoff, concerts. Even having a concert inside, you could have it where city residents could come similar to the US Open or Wimbledon and bring blankets and be able to enjoy the concert outside. One of the reasons why we strongly believe that the museum campus is the best location is that we've been in this area for 100 years. Our proposal is just to move it a little bit south of where we currently sit now to carry on the tradition. We're here. This design, and I hope you like it, is very contemporary, but it also embodies the essence of the museums. It will have a fixed roof. I'll answer one of the questions without you having to answer it. Is people have said, did you consider a retractable roof? Yes, but that's another couple $100 million. And when we talked to organizations who had retractable roofs, they said they used it maybe 3 or 4 times a year. We tried to be fiscally responsible about building the stadium. This roof will be a translucent roof. It's made of ETFE. If you've been to US Bank Stadium, if you've been to Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, if you've been to SoFi, it's a similar type roof. So you'll be indoors. You'll get all the benefits of being indoors, but you'll feel like you're outdoors, that you may have to wear sunglasses. And so that's the state-of-the-art roof that we're planning on having, but it will be fixed roof. We designed this area thanks to Manica and David Manica and his team. I see you all here. Thank you for being here, where this would be spectacular views of Chicago's iconic skyline and lakefront. That lake that we have here is the greatest piece of art that exists on the planet, and we need to be proud of it. The seating bowl is intimate. This is actually the proposed seating bowl. Sight lines. That glass is glass, clear glass, and those will be massive windows that you'll be able to take in the beauty of the city. As you'll know, this will be an intimate bowl. Manica, led by David Manica and his team, they designed Allegiant Stadium. So if any of you all were at the Super Bowl, you got the sense that that was almost like a small high school, college stadium, but it was an NFL stadium. It's very, very cozy and warm. As you can see, we'll be designed to host global events like the World Cup, FIFA, and other soccer events. The layout will be able to have concerts. Many of you went to Taylor Swift. You saw what that did for our city. Many of you went to Beyonce. You saw what that did to our city. I was at the second night of the Beyonce concert, and if it had rained 15 more minutes, there would have been no concert. And what we're starting to recognize is that there are many entertainers who would look toward coming to our new stadium to be able to do an in-house residency. Instead of coming for 2 days, they may come for 20 days. But there's so much we can do here from a concert standpoint. And then this shows just local to medium to small community events that can take place inside. Our state high school football championship games should be played in our new stadium. We need to honor our young people. Final Four. Women's Final Four now has become as popular as the men's Final Four. We should be able to get both of those events here. Final Four would sit about 77,000 seats here in our new stadium. Super Bowl. How many people would love to come to a Super Bowl in Chicago? Everyone. We have some of the greatest hotels in the world here, greatest restaurants. You can walk from downtown. You have the lake, you have the museums. This is the best city in the country from a Super Bowl standpoint. 2 world-class airports, private airports. This is an ideal location to host a Super Bowl. When I think about it, to think that Chicago and all that it stands for, with all the world championships here, that we've never hosted a Super Bowl and we've never hosted a Final Four. That should not exist. One of the items, and the mayor alluded to this, is our diversity, equity, and inclusion plan. We are focused on what will make this project special. In Minnesota, we leaned into our DE&I plan. Alex Tittle, who worked with me in Minnesota at US Bank Stadium, is here today. We have local individuals that we're working with, but as you can see, we'll have multiple phases here. We want to start this early, this process of making sure that women-owned business, minority-owned business, people of color are given an opportunity before the project even starts to be able to build their businesses in a manner so this can have a multi-generational impact. Not that it becomes just a good job that will happen, but to lean in some of these women-owned, minority-owned businesses that 3 and 4 and 5 generations down the road, that their families will be able to look back and say, thanks to grandma, thanks to grandpa, that they got an opportunity to really activate their business in conjunction with the city of Chicago and the Chicago Bears on that stadium project. So we'll have different phases. But it starts early on. As you can see, the partnership cultivation, goal setting, the legislation, the equity plan draft. Moving into phase 2, we will have a project labor agreement. Phase 3, and the biggest thing in there is on phase 4 is we'll have a stadium oversight committee of Chicagoans who can make sure that we keep each and every one of us accountable. Key partnerships from a city and state government, community-based entities. We have some of the greatest workforce development and business associations here in the city. And you know a lot of them. They're here. In Minnesota, we had to go and really activate a lot of those organizations. Here they exist. They're ready to work. They're talented. And speaking of work, because I'm a real estate nerd at heart, I love real estate. One of my first summer jobs was working concrete for a real estate company and a construction company. So when I travel to cities, I look around and I can tell about the vision and the wisdom of the people of that city based upon the number of cranes in the sky. Look around Chicago. I know the mayor is doing all that he can with his leadership to lean in to get economic development going. We want to be that catalyst. But we need more cranes in the sky here. And that's why I want us to get beyond picking on what's wrong with this project instead of saying what's right with it, because our people need to have an opportunity to go to work and take care of their families. So with this, again, this is another shot of the museum campus. And I'll stop there, and the next talented person I want to bring to the stage, Karen Murphy. She's been with the Bears for 25 years, and she's our new Executive Vice President of Stadium Development and Chief Operating Officer. Just a brilliant, brilliant leader, a great human being, a person who's passionate about the Bears, and she'll walk through the proposed funding proposal. Karen?
Thank you, Kevin, and good afternoon. Thank you. I will attempt to eloquently transition us from these amazing videos and beautiful pictures into the numbers. Our funding proposal appropriately starts with us putting in one of the biggest private investments into a public-owned facility in the state's history. Like both the mayor and Kevin mentioned, we are committing over $2 billion into a public-private partnership that will be transcendent for the city and bring opportunities and positive outcomes to the millions of people who both live in Chicago and visit Chicago. Okay, I'm going to start with the sources and uses of funds on the stadium itself. So what does the stadium cost? What is the budget? And how are we proposing to pay for it? Our all-in stadium budget is $3.2 billion. We're targeting a stadium cost of $2.75 billion, and then when we add in some of the financing costs, as well as a contingency that's appropriate for a project this size, that gets us to the $3.2 billion budget. How are we going to pay for this? So as we stated, Bears ownership is putting in over $2 billion to this project. That will be a combination of both equity and debt contributions. In addition, we will look to the NFL Stadium Program for a $300 million loan. If you add up the numbers, that leaves us with a $900 million funding gap. We will be looking to the ISFA program and their bonding mechanism to fill this gap. I'll get into the details of that on the next slide. This private investment puts us at over 70% of the total project cost, one of the largest private investments into an NFL stadium in NFL history. It's also, when we look back at the history of NFL stadiums, they are typically, on average, funded 50-50. So we are incredibly proud to bring this private investment to this project. Thank you. I also want to point out that now is the time to act. There is a significant cost to waiting. Soldier Field is the oldest stadium in NFL. It will be 100 years old this season. Our renovation is now 20 years old, and the cost to maintain this building gets more and more expensive each year. Every year we wait, due to the cost of inflation to start this project, that funding gap, that's $900 million now, will go up over $150 million. Okay. ISFA, the Illinois Sports Facility Authority, was funded in the mid-'80s to do exactly what we're talking about, to reconstruct and build stadiums. The funding mechanism for the ISFA is a 2% hotel tax that is already in place. We are not, I repeat, not looking at any additional tax buckets for this project. Our plan is using the ISFA hotel tax that's in place now. There are two things we're looking at with this proposal. One, we would like to refinance the existing debt that's outstanding on both the guaranteed rate and Soldier Field stadiums. In doing that and extending the debt out, the bonds out for 40 years, we will free up enough capacity that we believe could be close to or exceed $1 billion. We are using conservative hotel growth rates. We are looking at fiscally responsible bond coverage ratios, and we're also looking at setting up a liquidity reserve, which doesn't exist today. On day one, we are going to put money into a fund that will protect the city of Chicago for an unexpected drop in hotel revenues. That reserve fund will be available on day one. Okay, so that was the stadium project itself. Now I'm going to turn to the infrastructure piece. This site has long needed improvements to its infrastructure. Even driving here today, it was a challenge to get to. I know many of you who've been to events here on game day or concerts know that getting in and out of Soldier Field has been a challenge. And so we have looked and we have told our consultants, we want you to think boldly. Give us all of your ideas for this campus. How can we make improvements? We've really broken this down into 3 phases. So the first phase is around $325 million. This is the infrastructure needed to open this stadium. All in, our stadium project is $3.5 billion. It is $3.2 billion for the stadium, and it's $300 million, just over $300 million in infrastructure. The second 2 phases, we believe, will both maximize this site as well as bring additional opportunities for publicly owned amenities in the parks. We've been working closely with the state and looking at different available funding sources, if it's the state or the federal government, on how we can make it happen. For us, we need the $325 million to open the stadium. I will remind everyone too that these infrastructure projects drive jobs and they create economic impact. So we would be excited if all 3 phases happened. We need phase 1 to happen for our project specifically. I'm going to focus on traffic for a minute because, again, like I've said, it is a bit of a challenge getting to Soldier Field. And these traffic improvements are a subset of what I presented on the 3 phases. Our first phase is looking at different interchanges, different roadway improvements, better ramps. We're looking at the 19th Street interchange. So right now, it's 18th Street. We would have to move that slightly south. That would become 19th Street. And we're also looking at bringing a whole new way to get on our campus from the south, through Lakeside East, and being able to tie that in to the south parking lot. We're also looking at whether it makes sense to double deck the south parking lot to create additional parking spaces on the campus that would be replaced by the new stadium, which sits on the existing Waldron deck. This second phase looks to the north of the stadium. There's 2 pieces here. We've looked at, can we remove the light that's on DuSable Lakeshore Drive at McFetridge and create a better intersection and grade separate McFetridge between auto and pedestrian traffic. This will improve the safety. Any of you who have been there on event days know that this is a bottleneck at McFetridge Drive where both auto and pedestrian traffic cross. If both of these phases are done, this would be a 50% increase in lane capacity to the site, as well as a 20-minute reduction in exit times from our parking ramps, and 1,200 less hours daily for commuters on DuSable Lakeshore Drive. The economic impact. This is something that both the mayor and Kevin hit on. Our project has the ability to put people to work and spur economic growth. We hired an outside consultant, an independent consultant, to come in and help us understand what could be the impact of this project on the city, on the region, and on the state of Illinois. We've broken this into 2 pieces. One is, what is the impact of the construction project itself? We are talking about creating over 43,000 construction job years. This project is one of the largest building projects in our region's history. It will also create more than $8 billion in economic impact. We then look at, beyond construction, what does this look like on an ongoing basis? We have over 4,000 permanent jobs created by this project and over $450 million of economic impact. The private and public investments in this project are large, but the return on the investment is also significant. We're also looking at what kind of new tax revenue streams can this project deliver to the city of Chicago and the state of Illinois. For the city of Chicago, this project will create 58% more tax revenues annually for the city of Chicago and 41% annually for the state of Illinois. If we look at the tax benefits of both the construction and the ongoing activities over a 30-year period, we're talking about over $1.3 billion in economic impact to the city, state, and region. Kevin and the mayor talked about bringing mega events to this building. Chicago continually gets passed over for these incredible events. They bring significant financial impact. If we look at Arizona, over $1.3 billion of economic impact when that Super Bowl visited their state. Vegas just released that their hotel tax rates were up over 250%. These events, the Super Bowl, the Final Four, college football playoffs, World Cups, they bring significant financial impact to this city and state. But there's another piece to it. They have put Chicago on the global stage. We deserve these events. We need to stop getting passed up for these events. In closing, I am incredibly excited to use this significant private investment to build the future stadium for Chicago, surrounded by parks that are activated and inviting for all of the people of Chicago and the state of Illinois. Thank you.
We'll open the floor up for questions. After we have Charles Smith, who's the chair of the Chicago World Business Chicago. Please come up, Charles.
So first, I want to thank the McCaskey family, the Chicago Bears organization, and Kevin Warren, and Mayor Brandon Johnson of the city of Chicago. My name is Charles Smith, and I have the pleasure, under Mayor Johnson's leadership, to be the vice chair of World Business Chicago, which is the city's public-private economic development agency. I also get to serve in the dual role of executive chairman of the Business Leadership Council. And as I sit here or stand here, I can't help but think about my glorious Pee Wee football days. And I heard that the Bears have a #1 draft pick. So Kevin, you know how to reach me. Anyway, all jokes aside though, this is a big day for the city of Chicago and our dynamic business community. Chicago is the best place in the world to do business. Economic development serves as the engine driving our cities toward a promising future. And when executed thoughtfully, it has the potential to extend opportunities to every corner of our city. In my time working with the Chicago Bears, I've seen their deep commitment to supporting Chicagoland. This is evident in their extensive partnerships spanning youth organizations, schools, local charities, and much more. And this idea is reflected in their visionary proposal to privately invest in our public space, spearheading a development that's sorely needed that will put Illinois to work and also Chicago residents to work, and offer a new public amenity for all. Growing up on the west side of Chicago, I understand the critical importance of developments of this size and how to actively engage diverse businesses. At World Business Chicago, we talk about this theme of a circular economy, where both large international and national businesses get an opportunity to participate in our economy in addition to small businesses here at home. In this proposal, the Bears have made a plan to just do that. Very thoughtful consideration for hiring a diverse workforce to bring a new stadium and surrounding campus to life. Of course, this new influx of construction jobs is great for our city, but I think it's important to note the broader spectrum of opportunities this project presents, especially for our professional service businesses. As you should be aware of, mega developments like this require different teams, everything from architects, insurance brokers, public accountants, professionals, and more. Chicago boasts some of the best in the world in these industries. I'd be remiss not to mention understanding how significant the museum campus is to our city, as I currently serve on the Shed Aquarium Board. The Bears proposal would make the area more open and accessible, bringing more visitors to the area to enjoy the lakefront and our world-class museums. I personally mark my summers by how many walks that I take throughout our city. And what I think is I'm eager to stroll along the lakefront, Soldier Field's historic colonnades, before visiting some dolphins. Shout out to the beluga whales. The business community is looking forward to working alongside the Bears to turn this transformative vision into a reality. Thank you for having me today. And bear down.
I had stepped backstage to try to get Ryan Poles out of the draft room to see if Charles, if there's a spot for you. He said, tell Charles maybe next year's supplemental draft. So it's still wide open. We got opportunity. No, Charles, thank you very much. And as everyone who knows Charles Smith and him being chair of World Business Chicago, that's exactly what it stands for, that we look at Chicago through a worldwide landscape, which is critically important. So Charles, we appreciate your honesty, your integrity, and your love and support of having a great vision for this incredible city. So thank you very much. Next gentleman we are going to have to the stage, you all know Martin Cabrera of Cabrera Capital, who is one of the preeminent investment bankers, not only in Chicago, not only in the country, but around the world. And he absolutely loves this city, was born and raised here, and has provided so much wisdom, guidance, and advice along the journey. So Martin, welcome to the stage.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is an exciting day today. I know I want to thank kind of the McCaskey family, Kevin Warren, Karen Murphy, as well as Mayor Johnson, for allowing me to share the stage. And as a lifelong Bears fan, and as a kid growing up in Little Village and playing at Petrowski Park and at Marquette Park as well, I always pretended that I was Walter Payton, running around stiff-arming people along the way, and I was running with the football. So it is amazing to see what is being planned for our great city and how we can reimagine kind of the whole museum campus. So I'm here because this event is all about positive things that are happening in our great city. And you may hear sometimes about the Chicago that has been presented on our city and how distressed we are and how we're wrestling with significant obstacles. And working in the capital markets and real estate industry, I know that it isn't the story of our city. We have a great story to tell. And instead, I see us more like a phoenix rising from the ashes. And with many of our neighborhoods in the process of transformative development. Or I could put it even in football terms. So you may view kind of us as the underdog, and I'm pretty sure we're going to win a Super Bowl. Private investment is a big piece of this puzzle. It injects the much-needed capital into communities and acts as a catalyst to further development, ushering in new revenue streams and employment opportunities for our city. Being from the southwest side in Little Village area, I know how critical this is to diverse business in those communities and how they get to reap some of the benefits from projects of this scale. The Bears plan for the museum campus can have this kind of transformative impact on our city and all of those neighborhoods. It's not every day that a private investment comes forward with the commitment of over $2 billion into Chicago's public spaces. A project like this, coupled with the Chicago Bears' dedication to collaborating with minority and women-owned businesses, will generate high-quality jobs and pave the way for a generation of prosperity. It is truly an economic engine that will impact the city and the whole Chicagoland area. We are looking at an $8 billion economic impact, which could have far-reaching effects on our city, including the revenue streams for our city that we can reinvest back into Chicago. Maybe now all of my childhood friends will understand why I wanted to play football instead of growing up and playing soccer. As I mentioned earlier, today truly marks a momentous occasion for our city. Let's all rally behind the Chicago Bears plan to invest in Chicago. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
And our final speaker for today, before we open it up to questions and answers, is Dory McWhorter, who is the CEO of the YMCA. Dory, please come to the stage. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon. Good afternoon. It's such a great day when I get to stand alongside our partners, the Chicago Bears, and of course, Mayor Johnson. So having worked closely with the team for many years, I've witnessed firsthand the Bears' unwavering commitment to our local community, especially our youth. So as Kevin mentioned, for the last few years, the Y has hosted a mini monsters clinic with the team. We missed you out there. So beyond running football drills, these clinics serve as a platform for fun and for participants to build invaluable life skills and learn healthy habits. And I actually don't know if you've been to the Irving Park YMCA, but we have a space called the Bears Den, which used to serve as the Bears' off-season training headquarters in the 1960s and the 70s. So we've replaced the equipment since then, but we have a lot of cool memorabilia, and we actually still have a lot of wood paneling on the walls, too. So when I first learned about the Bears' proposal for Museum Campus for our city, I was immediately impressed because I see similarities between their plan and the goals of the YMCA. The Y is dedicated to ensuring that individuals from all walks of life have a space to gather for community and well-being. At the Y, we recognize that the power of play can totally transform an entire city. And we consider ourselves one of Chicago's largest playgrounds because we offer so many opportunities for individuals and families to play and grow. So the Chicago Bears' new stadium proposal is so much more than a sports facility. In fact, it actually may give us a run for our money as another one of Chicago's largest playgrounds. The surrounding grounds will have 20% more open and green space than currently exists on the museum campus. This means that Chicagoans from across the city will have a new space to gather by the lake, as well as play lots and athletic fields that they can use as they wish. At the Y, we work with youth from Roseland to Saguenay, from Austin to Chicago Lawn. All of these kids deserve a place to come play sports or just hang out and be kids. The stadium itself will also be a public amenity where our city can come together to host large community events year-round. I believe that this project can be a win-win-win for our city, our families, and our youth. So together, let's embrace the vision of a vibrant, inclusive community space. We're excited to work together with the Bears, Mayor Johnson, and all of our partners to make this development a reality. So as my colleague, Swati Staley, no relation to the mascot, likes to quote, "If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together." And I say, let's go further, faster, and let's go Bears. Thank you.
Okay, we'll open up the floor to questions for anyone you want to ask a question of.
Isabel Meller, Capital Facts. So the Bears have outlined a $1.5 billion in capital needs. Is there a specific plan or a general idea for this? How will this be funded?
Say, I didn't hear the last part.
Oh, is there a general idea on how this will be funded?
Yes, as Karen talked about, I think the biggest thing for us to keep in mind, and that's why we broke it down from a phase standpoint, and phase 1 and phase 2 and phase 3, which is critically important to make sure that we follow that. And from an infrastructure standpoint, you know, there are dollars that we believe exist at the state level, at the potentially federal level, potentially at the city level, and that's on the infrastructure costs. On the costs in regards to actual stadium, you know, Karen made it clear what we're looking for is $900 million from ISFA. ISFA, even looking at the website, they were designed to fund stadiums, and all we're asking is for ISFA to be able to do what they were put in place to do, and that's why the mayor was able to say we're not talking about any new increase in taxes. But I would actually ask Jill Jaworski, who's the CFO of the city, to come forward, and also Karen to give a little bit more specificity from a financial standpoint regarding your question.
Thank you, Kevin. I'll step in first and turn it to Karen. You know, one of the things that was described by the Bears in their plan is that they're going to have a phased approach to the infrastructure. Much of the core infrastructure that's going to be needed at first is transportation. It's things like moving the road, because the stadium is going to have a larger footprint than the current existing Waldron parking deck. There's substantial infrastructure funding that comes from the federal government, gets remitted to the states, and becomes available for projects around the state. We will be working with the state to pursue those funds for the road work that's going to be needed. One of the other big aspects that we've been thinking about is that with all of this green space, this is really an improvement as far as stormwater and other environmental impacts. There is significant federal funding available for green infrastructure, part of the IRA. So we will be looking at pursuing those as well. Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, thanks. I'll just add that we will continue to work closely with both the city and the state on the options that are available. And this infrastructure plan would span across at least 5 years. So that's why we have it phased. There would be some of it, like we talked about, that would be needed to open the stadium. But beyond that, these projects could be something that happen over a 5-year time span.
Just a follow-up, is there any more specifics on where the money for the capital improvement costs will come from the state? Have you been giving guidance to the state?
Yeah, we really look to the city to work with the state on that and what programs are available.
And we do look forward to having some detailed conversations with the state here in the near future.
Hey, sorry. Justin Lawrence from Crane Chicago Business. I think this is probably for
good to see you. Yeah.
Jill and Karen. On the ISFA money, you're saying that only a 2% hotel tax would be needed over 40 years to create the kind of money to retire the debt and build this new stadium. But the city is, 3 of the last 4 years has been on the hook to cover the shortfall. Without any more revenue added to this kind of pie, why should city taxpayers believe they won't be on the hook in the future?
It's a good question. One of the reasons that the city has had to support the ISFA debt in the last few years is because the original projections were that hotel revenue taxes would grow at around 5.5% every single year, with no taking into account recessions or things like the pandemic that could occur. The hotel revenues or hotel taxes are relatively volatile, and they definitely swing with the economy. One of the things that got us comfortable at the city when we looked at the plans that the Bears had for the ISFA debt for their proposal was that they're assuming a lower rate of growth, but they've also incorporated about $160 million liquidity reserve. And so between looking at a lower rate of growth that is more reasonable, so we'll see that debt increase at a more modest rate, and the fact that we have such a large liquidity reserve that we can access, and there's going to be significant coverage, around 150 to 160 times coverage, we think we have less risk under this scenario than we do right now. Under the current debt service that ISFA has for the remaining debt. The debt is going to spike up pretty significantly between now and 2032 when it expires. And we would expect without a refinancing that would hit the city budget every year in an increasing amount. So refinancing that and looking at the longer structure, but again, a more conservative structure, we think that insulates us more and reduces our risk going forward.
And then I have a question for the mayor. Governor Pritzker, Senator Don Harmon have somewhat already poured cold water on this plan today. You obviously support it. It's going to require billions of dollars in public subsidies. Why should taxpayers pay any dollars towards this? And what is your conversation going to be like with Governor Pritzker and state leaders?
Well, I appreciate the feedback that is coming from our partners at the state level, and what I've said from the very beginning is that an investment like this requires real skin in the game from ownership, which they've done that, a commitment to public use, which they've done that, as well as, an overall commitment to, building a better, stronger, safer Chicago. This is about investing in the thousands of jobs that will manifest as a result of this investment. We're talking, conservatively, 24,000 jobs in the immediate, 43,000 jobs for the entire region, $2.5 billion of income into working families, providing us with the opportunity to continue to invest in housing and education, mental health services, growing our parks. The fact that we have a very sizable footprint now of 14 more acres of just athletic fields. This is a real opportunity to create real revenue by doing what works, which is putting people to work. Thank you.
John Garcia with Channel 7. Mayor, another question for you, if you don't mind. Curious how this plan fits into your goal and agenda for helping create economic development in the south and west sides of the city.
Yeah, thank you for that question. Again, just the construction jobs alone and that will grow as a result of this investment. The part that I'm actually really grateful for, the McCaskey family, the leadership under Kevin Warren, we're talking about real participation for women-owned businesses and minority-owned businesses. This is very much aligned towards, in line with my vision for a better, stronger, safer Chicago, because it invests in people, it invests in households. Again, we're talking conservatively, $2.5 billion of income for working people in Chicago, $3.5 billion of income for people who are in the Chicagoland region. I think this commitment from the Bears not only shows its commitment for the city of Chicago, but it sends a nice little shout out to the suburbs as well.
Naima Latif, On Air Daily News. And this is an infrastructure question, but also possibly for the mayor. Since it's determined it's going to be about a 5-year construction process, has it been determined how that's going to affect the traffic flow from the south side to the loop during rush hour? And will traffic need to be rerouted? How will that affect the surrounding areas? Has that been determined?
One of the things we have talked about is, as we said, with progress, there will be some items that will be somewhat complicated, but we have discussed ways that we can work from a traffic standpoint. And it's no different than when there's construction work that's done on freeways. It's something that needs to be done, and it's something that's overdue. And so we're confident that residents, people who come to this area, visit this area, that we'll be able to figure out a way that we can deal with it during the construction progress. But the benefits, when we're finished, it really will make a substantial difference. As Karen said, even us coming in today, for us to have traffic on a daylight today, and there's no major events, I think it shows clearly that this is something that has been deferred maintenance, not only at a city level, but at a state level, that we need to lean into and make sure that we do fix. One question I'll ask you all, and I appreciate the questions, these are excellent questions, and we've tried to research it. The last time that a private investment of $2 billion or more occurred in the city of Chicago, we couldn't find any. And we couldn't even find any of $1 billion or more. So I just want to make sure that we take heed to the fact to have a private investment of over $2 billion is not only unique, but it's something that we need to make sure that we leverage and take advantage of.
Hi, this question is for Mayor Johnson. Hi, Mayor. The city's lakefront protection ordinance prohibits private development east of Lakeshore Drive. Why is it appropriate for this stadium to be built on land that was set aside by Daniel Burnham as forever open, free, and clear?
Yeah, so 20% more open space that will be available for the people of Chicago. This is very much aligned with Daniel Burnham's vision for the lakefront. Again, creating the open space, better access to the museums, providing better traffic flow in and out, creating jobs, making opportunities for our young people. That vision that I have for the city of Chicago is very much tethered to Burnham, and I'm fully confident that it works within the confines of the ordinance.
Are you prepared to spend city dollars to defend what appears to be an inevitable lawsuit from parks groups who want to defend the lakefront, if not from this specific proposal, from other proposals that they might fear this sets a bad example for?
Yeah, what we're prepared to do is to continue to invest in people. We're prepared to put 23,000, 24,000 people in the city of Chicago to work. My vision for the city of Chicago is very clear, particularly around environmental justice and creating more open space. We do that. Paying attention to the needs of our young people, as Kevin Warren has articulated. If you play a spring sport in Chicago, you have a tough time having your game played if you play a fall sport. And I know because I have children who play spring sports. And this provides us with a very unique opportunity, not just to grow our economy, but to show that our young people that we actually love them, care enough about them, that they're willing to invest in them.
Hi, Taman Bradley, WGN-TV. Question for Kevin Warren. Governor Pritzker spoke with reporters a short time ago. He said he was not invited to this event, and he remains skeptical. Also, House Speaker Emanuel Chris Welch said that if he put this on the board in Springfield right now, it would fail. You have about a month left. How do you convince Springfield to do what you want?
Well, today was the first day that we have been able to publicly roll out our plan, so it's very difficult for someone to say they're against this and we just presented it. So we look forward to having more conversations with the individuals in Springfield, Governor Pritzker and Speaker Welch, and I haven't seen any of these things that you're alluding to because I've been here on stage, but we'll continually proceeding forward. That's the whole purpose of us getting together today, was to be able to lay out a plan that we'll look forward to getting together with.
Hi, Miranda Davis, Bloomberg News. Was wondering if the Bears could talk a little bit about where and how they're going to fund the $2 billion. Is that going to be financing? If so, what kind? And is it lined up?
Yes, as I walked through, that $2 billion from the Bears piece is a combination of equity and debt, and we will work with the banks to determine what that right mix is. But yes, it will be Bears, the ownership of the Bears, contributions to the project.
A question for Kevin. Kevin, is your plan for the Bears to continue to play at Soldier Field for the entirety of the construction process, or would a temporary transitional home field be needed for part of it?
Yes, that's a great question. One of the things that makes this project unique is that we would be able to continue to play at Soldier Field during the construction, and then to be able to move into the new stadium once the construction is finalized. So yes, we would be able to continue to play here and not have to move to a different location, which is really imperative, especially where we are in our growth cycle as a football franchise. Thank you for asking that.
Hi, Alice Yin with the Chicago Tribune. First question, is your target timeline for a bill to go through in the next month, this spring session, or could this roll over into the fall veto session?
I mean, we feel that the time is now. I mean, every year that we wait, it's $150 to $200 million of increased costs that ultimately we'll have to figure out. But we don't think that's prudent. The time is now, so our expectation is in this session. And the reason why we're staging that now and not even in a fall veto session is because even if we're approved in a fall veto session, we wouldn't be able to get into the ground because of the weather. It would push it back a year. That if we're approved in May, then that will allow us to be able to start construction, to put people to work next summer, and that would allow us 36 months later to open up our building in 2028. So this truly is one of those adages that time is money, and we do need to figure this out. And that's why we've put forth such a robust program and plan. Thank you for asking that.
Mayor, speaking of Springfield, last week you spoke about how you have a host of progressive priorities in the capital, such as more education and migrant funding. How are you going to make a progressive case for a publicly funded sports stadium?
Well, because of the public benefit. You know, I mean, again, the best way to grow our economy really requires partnerships with public and private entities. That's exactly what this does. We're investing in people. You know, look, these pictures are miraculous. But we're talking about thousands of lives that will benefit from this investment. You know, the fact that we have not just a storied history with this franchise, but with the McCaskey family, with Kevin Warren's leadership, with the entire Bears organization, my administration, we know that the sooner we can put shovels in the ground and put people to work, that is our surest way to secure a better, stronger, safer Chicago, and it benefits the entire region. We're talking about $8 billion of economic vibrancy as a result of this investment. The time is now for that. Think about how long people have been waiting for investments like this. You know, we had a $1.25 billion bonds deal, the largest bonds deal in the history of Chicago. We have one of the greatest private investments that's being laid out today. Like we're in the midst of making history for the people of Chicago. It's an exciting time to not just be a Bears fan, it's an exciting time to be a Chicagoan.
Great, we have time for 3 more questions.
Andy Seligman with the AP. For Kevin, two-part question. One is, can somebody just clarify what the total cost of the project would be if all 3 phases were completed? And also for Kevin, is Arlington Heights completely off the table at this point?
I'll start with the Arlington Heights question. We are the largest landowner in Arlington Heights still, 326 acres that we own, a beautiful piece of land. But I think we said it before, and after today, we're clear that our focus is on the city of Chicago and this museum campus area. So we still own the land in Arlington Heights, but our focus from a stadium development project is here in this campus area. And I'll have Karen, I can give you the details of the total project, but she can just unpack that information one more time.
If all 3 phases of the infrastructure were completed, that would be a total of around $1.5 billion. So we're looking at the stadium of 3.2, and then all 3 phases would be at 1.5. But again, our project needs the $300 million. There are pieces of phase 2 and 3 that would drive additional revenues off of those park amenities. So there is a return on investment to the city and the state on pieces of that infrastructure.
Robert McCoppin from the Chicago Tribune. What about the White Sox? They have also proposed a new stadium. Speaker Harmon asked that you work together with them. Have they agreed to any of this, or what additional cost would they need for what they want?
We've stayed in close communication with the White Sox. We even had a meeting on Sunday, just a couple days ago. I've made it very clear publicly, privately, and I'll make it very clear now. I think it would be an absolutely incredible day in Chicago if we were able to build 2 stadiums at the same time. One, the economic benefit, the increase in tax base, the number of jobs, and also the staging of workers, that we could have people working on two different jobs. And as I said in my opening remarks, we got to decide who we want to be as a city. But we have an opportunity to build two world-class stadiums. We'd be all for it. We've stayed in close communication with them. I don't know the specifics of their plan, but I look forward to the day that we can continually stay in close communication. And I would be absolutely ecstatic if both of us were able to build our stadiums here at the same time.
But just to be clear, your proposal doesn't include any money for whatever they want.
This proposal today, no, it doesn't include any money for what they want, but it doesn't mean that money does not exist for what they want. So that's why we're continuing conversations. Thank you for asking that.
Hi, Kevin. Chris Plasik from the Daily Herald. Maybe a question for you, but maybe George as well, because I remember seeing a very similar presentation for Arlington Park at Hersey High School. George was there, Ted Phillips was there. So maybe a question for you, your organizational philosophy as you come into this job now a year in. Why would the Bears want to be renters for a publicly owned stadium versus landowners of their own property in the suburbs where they'd have all those ancillary revenue streams?
I mean, one of the words I would maybe look at it a little bit differently is renters. I feel strongly about the power, the substance of a public-private partnership. And I believe in Mayor Johnson. I believe in his staff. I believe in his vision. I believe in this city. And so I don't look at it as being a renter. I look at it as being able to develop a relationship that 1 + 1 = 100 instead of 3 for us to be able to come together. And I just feel strongly about it. If you look at my history and my career, people ask that same question in Minnesota. Why would you want to be a renter in Minnesota? And as George opened up with in his comments, it has turned out still rated the best stadium in the National Football League almost 8 years later, and it's turned out to be a win-win-win situation in Minnesota. We paid off the debt 23 years early. And so it's just one of those ones, I don't ever want to say trust me, but it's one of those ones that we don't look at it in a derogatory manner of quote-unquote being a renter. We look at it as being a good partner with each other, and that's why we're here today.
All right, last question.
Hi, Mr. Warren. Mitch Armentrout from the Sun-Times. The team has had a sometimes tortured relationship with the city when it comes to its lease agreements with the Park District. What sort of terms would you be looking for from the city? And I'm also curious why the Michael Reese Hospital site didn't work for you.
Yeah, thank you for asking that question. The terms we'd be looking for is terms that you would do with a partner. We just want to be fair with each other. And I'm confident with Mayor Johnson and the leadership at the city of Chicago that they're fair people, they're talented business people, and we would be able to work out fair terms. And because that's the only way that a public-private partnership truly is able to thrive is by being fair with each other. I'm glad you asked a question about Michael Reese property. When we started going down this road, when we had difficulty getting the tax situation squared in Arlington Heights, our team looked at 10 to 12 sites here in Chicago, Michael Reese obviously being one of them. I was passionate about Michael Reese site, one, because the history and the tradition with Brownsville and all the different things that it brings to the table. The difficulty about that site, it is very narrow. So from an NFL stadium footprint standpoint, it's difficulty, it doesn't work, it's too narrow. The other thing is that it would require this to be built over an active railroad and train lines. There's certain rules and requirement that the majority of sports leagues, especially the National Football League, has in regards to building active stadiums over active trains lines, especially with a certain kind of 100-foot perimeter. So there's multiple items. It's a great piece of property. It's in a great area. It has incredibly historical significance. But just from a football standpoint, and for us to be able to deliver on the promises that we're making to the city of Chicago, hosting Final Fours and Super Bowls and college football playoffs and concerts, it would be incredibly challenging at this point in time to make that work. In addition to the fact that we understand that the marshalling yards that exist right now would have to be relocated in some other location. But thank you for asking that question. Okay, yes, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
One of the things before we close, we do want to thank everyone for attending here today, but we also want to thank especially our labor partners that attended, because you are the ones who truly put people to work and understand the vision. So thank you for your time. These 48 hours are exciting today, and tomorrow with the NFL draft, us having the number 1 pick and the number 9 pick. And so our goal is to make progress on our stadium, share the vision with you, answer questions, and draft some incredibly talented young men tomorrow who will be able to deliver multiple Super Bowls here, not only to the city of Chicago, but for the Chicago Bears franchise. So bear down and have a great day. God bless.